this is Mr. Dudley. I'm going to be going over the Chapter 7 review with you. First, I'd like to start off with just a little explanation about the box. If you take two fractions that are equal, like 50 100ths and 1/2, and you stack them next to each other like this, you can actually multiply the cross products and they will be equal. So you multiply this way, 2 times 50 is 100. 1 times 100 is 100. Therefore, we know that they are equal fractions if you can do that. Let's start over here. Just slide that down a little bit so you can see. You can also take one of these away. And as long as you have 3 of the numbers and you set them next to each other, you can find out what the fourth one is. Let's say you know that you don't know what 1/2 is equal to, but you know that something over 100 is equal to it. So you can multiply diagonally. 1 times 100, that's 100, and then divide, and you'll get, divide by the other number. 1 times 100 divided by 2 is 50. So once you have 3 numbers of the 4 in equivalent fractions, you put them next to each other, multiply diagonally first, and then divide whatever number you get that product, you take and divide that by the third number. All right, multiply diagonally, divide by the lonely guy, some people say. All right, this first target today is 7.1a. And the important part about this one is many of you will forget that 8%, the decimal is right here, and you have to move it 2 places to get 0.08. You take and multiply that times 1 times 46, and you will have your answer. Let me just clear that out, and I will tell you that 0.08 times 46 is 3.68. The rule for this one is for 7.1a is if you want to take and find out what the percentage of something is, you can take that percentage, you can move the decimal 2 spots to the left, you're dividing by 100. When you do that, no matter where the decimal is, you move it 2 places to the left, and then you can just pop it right into the calculator. Let me show you how you do a problem like this with the box. And the box really does the same thing. It just divides at the end. So you put 84% over 100, because that's what 84% is. It's 84 parts out of 100. And then you put the of 124, you put 124 right down here. You can multiply that out. Let me just do this. I don't think I cleared it. 124 times 84 equals, now we're going to divide by the 100, divide by 100, and that equals 104.16. Okay? So you don't have to move the decimal if you use the box. Some of you, I'm afraid, are going to forget, like on this point, this 8%, you're just going to put in 0.8 times 46. 0.8 is 80%. It's like 80 cents. So I'm nervous about that. Just like on this one here, I think some of you will put in 0.175. Well, here's the percentage right here. We need to move that 2 spots. This is where the decimal is at the end of the number. If it's not there, 1, 2. So you'd actually put in 1.75 times 96. In some of these, I'm just going to take the answers off my sheet here. That would equal 168. Okay? Instead of popping them all into the calculator. We have to find 320%. I'm going to move that decimal. It's here at the end of the number. 1, 2. So that's 3.20 times 80. I'll do that one for you. 3.2. Well, 3.2 is the same as 3.20 times 80. And that equals 256. I'll circle my answers on here so you see them. Okay, this next one, same thing. You can move the decimal 2 spots, or I'll just try boxing this one. I'm just going to put the decimal up there just how it is. 45.8. 45.8% out of 100. And we want to know what that is out of 60. I'm starting to sound a little bit like Sal Khan again. All right, so we take 60, clear it out, 60 times 45.8. I'm going to divide that by 100. We get 27.48. equals 27.48. Okay. This one here, 5.5%. Again, if you move that decimal 2 places, if you divide by 100, that's 1, 2. You have to put a placeholder in there. I'm going to write that out here, 5.5. You move it 1, 2 places. The first answer on the answer key will probably be 5.5. Will probably be for kids who multiplied 0.55, which is 55%. This is 0.055%, which is 5.5%. Let me pop that into the calculator. 0.055 times 20. That equals 1.1. Equals 1.1. All right, so keep in mind that the way I'm showing my work here, this is how you have to show your work on the test as well. 2 1/4% is a little bit weird. You have to take and make 2% into a decimal. So I'm going to take 2%, make it into a decimal. 1, 2. We got 0.02. You have to make a quarter into a decimal. So if you put 1 divided by 4 into a calculator, you get 0.25, and then you just tack that decimal on here, 25. Okay? And then you multiply that straight away by 12. I'll do that. 0.02. There's my 2%. Here's my 25%, the extra 1/4%, times 12, and it equals 0.27. If you were to box that one, you would just say that it's 2 1/4%. Well, at that point in time, you can just say 1/4 is 0.25. Because that's the way you write 2 1/4% as a decimal. And of course, just put 12 in here. We should get the same answer. 12 times 2.25 divided by 100, and it equals the same answer there, 0.27. All right. 14 1/2%. Well, if I move it 2 places, this is 0.14. If I make 1/2 into a decimal, it's actually 0.5. I'll write that over here. It becomes 0.5, 1 divided by 2. So I just tack that on the end here. So there's my 14%, and there's my 1/2%. I take that times 50, and I'm just going to cheat on that one. You are going to get 7.25. I just looked up. I did them ahead of time, so I wouldn't have to take so much of your time. 0.27 up here. Okay? All right, so now these problems here, I think you all need to solve all of these with a box. I think that's the best way to do it. Keep in mind that on the box, this is always going to be the percent. This is always going to be 100. It stays put. This one here is the part. It's usually signified with the words is. This is always the whole down here. And oftentimes it's signified by the word of. All right? So I'm going to make a new one. I'll refer back to that here. What percentage, so we're looking for this area here. We're looking for the percent. Put my 100 in because I already know that. What percentage of 24, 24 goes down here, is 10. Okay? So I just take and multiply diagonally. 10 times 100. We just add the 0 there. Of course, that's 1,000. I'm going to clear that out. 1,000. And I'm going to divide that by 24, and I get 41.66. Up here it says round to the nearest hundredth. So that would be 41.6. Here's the hundredth. I look next door. It's a 6, so it would be 0.67. 41.6.67. Write that over here. 41.67 and circle it. Okay? All right, make another one of these. What part, well, I'm going to put my percent, put my 100 in. What part of 30, so we're looking for the part, what part of 30 is 40%? Okay, so I can just do that real quick, clear this out. 30 times 40, that's 1,200. And then I'm taking, so I multiply diagonally, and then I'll divide by 100. I get 12. Let's see if that makes sense. 12 out of 30 is 40 out of 100. Yeah, it makes sense. And I got to slide that down. Sorry about that, folks. See my work on that one. You see 14, I'll move it down a little more. So you can see the work I boxed it up. What part? This is the part, so I put the circle there. All right, let's do this one here. Put my 100 in. 80%, I know that's going to go here, of this number, get it, of, is 48. So I got 3 numbers in a box. I can go ahead and do it. I know that 48 times 100 is just going to be 48 plus, 48 plus 2 zeros. That's 4,800. I'm going to divide that by 80, and I'm going to get 60. And that makes sense. 80% of 100, or 80 over 100, is the same as 48 over 6. Oh, yeah, sure, yeah, betcha. All right, let's take a look at this one here. Find 70%, so we want to find 70% of 140. So there's the of. It's going to signify that that's the whole. Of course, this is our 100. So let's just pop that in. We'll multiply diagonally. 140 times 70, and that equals 9,800. I'm going to divide that by 100. Really, all I'm doing is moving the decimal a couple spots, and that's 98. 98. All right. 300 is what percentage? Let's see. 300 is what percentage? That means we need to know the percentage up here. 300 is what percentage of 1,200? And of course, this is our 100 down here. That stays the same. So now I'll multiply this way. So I'll do it the old school way. 300 times 100. You can do the fact and add the zeros. You get 30,000, and I'm going to divide that by 1,200, that other number, and I get 25. Well, that makes sense. Look at 3 over 12, 25 over 100. Yeah, it's 1/4, really. So that works out just fine. So that's 25%. And then let's do this last one. 12 is 20%. Of what number? We don't know what that is, and of course this is 100. So if I take 12 times 100, that's going to be 1,200, and I will divide that by that other number by 20. Divide by 20. And that equals 60. Let's see if this makes sense. 12 over 60, 20 over 100. Yeah, because 12 is 1/5 of 60. Okay? All right, let's go back. I'm going to move this back up to the top of the page. All right, these are the 7.4. So all those that I just did, these all down on the bottom, those are all the 7.2 targets, 7.2a, 7.2b, 7.2c. Find the part, find the whole, find the percentage, and up top, all of those were the 7.1 targets. 7.1a, 7.1b, 7.1c, 7.1d, all of these here. So if you want to check out those videos. These here are 7.4a. This is where the rubber meets the road, because now we're going to have to solve problems using this ratio box, or this the ratio proportion box. And I call it the ratio proportion box because it works for ratios too, which we'll see on the back side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make a box because I know I'm going to need one here. See if I can do this. Valley Middle has 880 students. That looks like it's the whole, but let me keep reading. If 70%, I know that's going to go here. If 70% of these students are in grade 6 and 7, how many kids are there in these two grades? So I know this is going to be 100. That's always down there. So there's 880 students. That looks like that's the total number of kids. And if 70% of these students are in grade 6 and 7, how many kids are there in these two grades? So what we want to know is what part of 880 is 70%, because that's the 6th and 7th graders. So this is my open spot. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, 880. I'm going to take that times 70%, and I'm going to divide it by 100. I get 616. Does that make sense? Yeah, it sounds right. So, 50% would be, 440, so 616 makes total sense. That's 616 students. Just put down studs. All right, this next one, clear this calculator out. 100 in there to begin with this time because I know what's going to happen. Every day, Bill cleans 40 trays in the lunchroom. If this is 5%, put that up there, 5%. Of all the trays cleaned, how many trays are there in all that get cleaned? Well, so if this is 5%, so we know that 40 is the part of it. It's not all of it. There's more than 40 trays in the entire school. He just cleans 5%, a small percentage. So this is the whole that's missing. So I'm just going to multiply these up. Take the 40, I'll multiply diagonally and then divide. So 40 times 100, 40 times 100, that equals 4,000. And I'm going to divide that by the 5%. That's 800. That makes sense. 5% of 100 is 40 out of 800. It's just a tiny number. All right, Frankie, and let's see, this is 800 trays. All righty. This one here. Frank drives his truck 16,000 miles in a year. A total of 8,880 of these miles is to and from work. What percentage of the miles does he drive each year is this? Okay, well, this is 880. This is 8,800. Sorry. Let's start over here. Let's put my 100 in. Okay, so he drives a total of 16,000 miles. So that's the whole, 16,000. And 8,880 of them are to work. So what we're looking for here is a percentage. A percentage. So let's pop the numbers in. Those are too big to work with. So we got 8880. I'm just going to verify that number. Times 100. I could just have added 2 zeros, but I'm going to divide that by 16,000. 160, there's 1,600, 16,000. That equals 55.5%. So 55.5% of his miles are to and from work. And it makes sense. If it was 8,000, it would be 50%. And this is 8,880. So 55% sounds right. All right, start off here again, get my 100 down here. Again, these are all 7.4a problems. My bill at Red Robin was $38.50. If I want to leave a 16% tip, how much should I leave? Well, the total was $38.50, so I'm going to put down 38.50. Slide that down so you can see. Get the rest of these in there. 38.50. And we want to leave 16% tips. I'll put my 16% up here. So what I'll do is, got my box. I'm looking for what part of 38.50 is equivalent to 16%, or what over 38.50 is equal to 16 over 100. So I'm just going to take that 38.50, 38.50, and I'm going to multiply that times the 16%. And now I'm going to divide by 100, which is really like moving the decimal. I get 6.16. So basically, if you were to leave a $6.16 tip, that would be 16%. Okay? Because there's a relationship on top too. 38.5 is to 100 like 6.16 is to 16%. Okay? All right. No calculators on this part, so I'll put this guy aside. Jim has 446 Pepsi cans in his collection. His dad gave him 62% of them as gifts. Estimate how many cans his dad gave him. Well, I'm just going to round this off. Let's just call it, we're looking for basically 60% of 450. Well, I know that 50% of any number is half of it. 50% is going to equal, then half of 400 would be 200. Half of 50 is 225. So 50% would be 225. 10% I can do easily. 10% of any numbers if I just move the decimal. So if I just move that decimal from 450 over one spot, I divide by 10, I'm going to get 45. And then my answer, if I can add these guys up, is going to equal, that was carried the 270 cans. There's my estimate. Again, It's a close approximation. Some of you will figure it out exactly, and you don't need to. And you'll probably get it wrong on the test, because I will have the exact answer on there. But the exact answer is not an estimate. An estimate is something, kind of the mental numbers that you could do in your head, or with minimal figuring. All right, Ruby spends a lot of her free time at the dance studio. She typically has 32 hours of free time each week. Estimate how many hours she spends at the studio if she spends 41% of her time there. So really what we're looking for is we're looking for 40% of 30. I just rounded off the problems. That's the first step when you estimate. You don't want to work with 32. You want to work with something easy like 30. Well, 10% would be 3, correct? Well, I can do that 4 times. There's 10%. There's another 3. Here's 10%. Here's another 3. Here's 10%. Here's another 3. So here is my 40%. If I just add all these 3's up, well, 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, this is 12 hours. You stack them up like that and show your thinking. All right, this one here is 7.3. This is 7a. This is 7.3b. Now you have to estimate percentages over 100. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more space. So I'm going to move over here. So we want to estimate 134% of 245. Let's call that, we're going to estimate 130% of 250. Now, one student who shall remain nameless for the purpose of this video likes putting them in this box, and I could have boxed these ones here too, and I didn't. But I will this time. So we got to get to 130% of 250. Well, I know what 100% of 250 is. 100% is 250. I know that 10%, if I move that decimal one place, is going to be 25. I can do another 10% at 25. And I can do another 10% at 25. So if I total these all up, you'll see that I do have my 130%, just like if I total these up, I had 40%. So there's my 130%. And then my answer is, well, these guys would make 50 plus 250. That would be 300. It looks like it's 325. It's a total of 325. All right, I'm going to move my picture over here for a second. See if I can do that. I think I can. Can't see where it is, but I lost my pick. All right, we're done with the picture for a while. We're going to go ahead and do 159%. Whoops, let's round that to 160% of 70. How does that sound? 160% of 70. Well, 100% of 70 is simply going to be 70. 50% of 70, remember we can do 10% in our head, we can do 50% in our head, we can do 100% in our head. These are the easy ones. 50% of 70, that's half of it, is 35. And I'm going to do 10% more because it's 160%. And that would be just 7. So if I added those all up, this would be 100, 105. This would equal 112. Now some of you may have estimated that as 150% of 70. That's fine too, because again, this is an estimate. Okay? All right. Let's see. Just trying to get my picture back there. I can't help you with that, but I can continue on here. So on this back side, these problems are a little bit tough. These are ratio problems, but I want you to take a look and see the connection with it. So I'll run through these kind of quickly. First of all, you did not need to do problem 3. I didn't actually write these problems, but 12 miles is approximately equal to 6K. That is not true. They've got their terms mixed up. So when we're doing these problems here, we have to remember that when you put two ratios next to each other, like if you put 1 is to 2 as 2 is to 4, remember ratios are part to part. So there's actually a total of 3 parts here. There's a total of 6 parts here. That's why I call it the ratio proportion box. Fractions, this is part to whole. Now I know that 1/2 and 2/4 are equal, but watch how this ratio stuff applies here. A Java book is comprised of 2 sections, core and advanced Java, in the ratio of 7 to 2. How many of each type will be needed to complete a book of 400 pages? So we have this core section, we have advanced. And we need to figure this out. So we're going to use a ratio proportion box, but the problem is we need to know how many pages will be in each section. So there's a total of 9 sections. See, there's 7 and 2 here. And those 9 sections together are 450 pages. So we want to know how much will be in each section. So let's figure out the section of 2 first. All right, the one that has 2 sections, because 9 is to 450 is 2 is to something. That's going to give us how many pages are in that first section, because this is sections and these are pages here, as I set up that as a ratio. So I'll just do 2 times 450, and that's going to equal 900. I'm going to divide that by that third number, which is 9, so I went like this, and I'm going to get 100, and it makes total sense. There's like 100 pages in each section. I can do the other one. I know it's going to come out to be 350, I'm sorry, it's 50 pages in each section, because 2 sections for 100 pages. But I'll just put it in to make sure I'm right. So 7 sections, if it's 9 and it's 450, we're going to multiply like this and then divide. So I will take 7 times 450, and that's going to equal 3,150. I'll divide that by 9, and you get 350 pages. So this section will have 350 pages. This section will have 100, and there's your 450 pages. All right, similarly, this problem here. 30 boys and girls have planned a picnic event. There's a ratio of 3 girls to 7 boys. So that means for every 10 kids, there's 7 boys. For every 10 kids, there's 3 girls. This is part to part. 3/10 is part to whole. 7/10 is part to whole. So I'm going to use that part to whole relationship to solve this. So we want to know, if we know that there are 7 boys out of 10 kids, because it's 3 to 7, 7 out of 10, we want to know how many are out of 30. We want to know what the equivalent fraction out of 30 is going to be. 7 times 30 is 210. I'll just do it for you in case you don't trust me. 7 times 30 equals 210. I will divide that by 10, and I'll get 21, and it makes total sense. 7 to 10, 21 out of 30 boys. Okay, we'll get down here into the ones that I think, problems 1, 2, and 6, I think are kind of, I guess 1 and 2 are the challenging ones. But here, this is a simple little box problem. We got 5 pizzas. Again, I'm ratio. 5 pizzas are $60. So this is pizzas and this is dollars. 5 pizzas are $60. We want to know what 9 pizzas cost. Pop it in. Boom, boom. 9 times 60. 9 times 60, and that equals 540. We will divide that by 5. I'm going to double check that. I don't remember doing this one. 9 times 60, and that equals 540. I divide that by the 5. That equals $108. Makes sense. Okay? Looks like the pizzas are $12 a piece. 9 times 12. 108. 5 times 12. 60. Good. The pizzas are $12. So what will 9 pizzas cost? Right here. $108. Okay? I'm going to box this up too. We got peppers and dollars on this little one here. So 6 peppers are $36. So there's a ratio. 6 for 36. We want to know what 12 will be. Well, 12 is just going to be double that. So it's going to be 72, but I'll just take and put it in there. Those are awful expensive peppers. Let's see. Put it in. I'll multiply 12 times 36. 12 times 36, and that equals this. And I will divide that by 6. That equals $72. That's some expensive peppers. Okay. Mr. Jeff divided his money into the ratio of 4 to 2 between John and Jack. John got the smaller amount. Let me see. Let's see this. So it's going to be 4 to 2. And John and Jack, who got the smaller amount? John got the smaller amount of this. So this is going to be John's 1,256. It's going to be half. of 4. So it's going to be double, but I'll just pop the numbers in. So I'm going to take 4 times that 1256. That equals this. I'm going to divide that by 2 equals exactly double that. 2,512. And that's going to be dollars because I think they want to know how much did Jack receive. Okay, so these questions down here, true or false? We have to see if these ratios are the same. So again, we'll just stack them. 3/4, and then the other one is 15/20. Just like we check cross products on fractions, we can also check cross products on ratios. 3 times 20 is 60. That's good. 15 times 4. This is also 60. True. These bad boys are equal. This next one here, we've got 2/5. I'm sorry, it's not 2/5. It's 2:5 as 30 is to 20. This one doesn't look good. 30 times 5, this is equal to 150. If I check the cross products, 2 times 20 equals 40. I could see putting that one in that it was going to be false. Those bad boys are not equal. Hang with me, 2 more. We've got 3 is to 4, and we've got 6 is to 8. These ones look the same, don't they? 6 times 4, well, that's 24. 3 times 8, that's also 24. So those two are equal. All right, last problem. Do it over here. We got glasses. I'll just put a G there, and we've got dollars. We got 10 glasses is $40. How much do 20 glasses cost? Well, it looks like it's going to be double that, doesn't it? Well, let's just pop it into the old box. 20 times 40, and that's going to equal 80. I'll divide that by 10. I did that wrong. 20 times 40. 20 times 40 equals 800. I divide that by 10 is going to be 80. It's going to be $80. Okay, what's going to be the most difficult? The most difficult will be, I got a sneak peek. Say hi, Miss Crothers, because my camera shut off.
Hi. Oh, shoot. Hi.
I think it might be there, it might not. What do they call this? Photobomb. Sorry, I'm not the younger generations here.
What the kids are saying.
Yeah, that's what the kids wanted more photobombing. Sorry. $80. I think the toughest targets here are going to be 7.3 A and B, where you have to estimate those fractions. Estimate those percentages. So give a little extra time there. Thanks for watching. Bye.